And then Brian has a list of some questions that we're going to be asking each of the panelists. But I want to encourage folks also to, if somebody says something and all of a sudden it sparks, like, oh, in your mind, when we get to that point, after they've done their introductions, please feel free to raise your hand and ask that question. Because truly the goal of this is we want everybody to walk away with tangible tools and ideas and tips that you can take away and go use back in your business. So without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and toss it over to Brian. So thank you, good morning, and thank you to those for joining us online virtually as well.
Good morning, everybody. So this morning I was on the Bureau of Labor Statistics website, and I found an interesting graphic. In terms of private employment, there are 52 million businesses in the United States that employ fewer than 50 people. 52 million businesses. And perhaps at no other time than right now has finding employees become a challenge. We talk about wage wars, but it's really deeper than just wages. Wages is definitely a part of it. And what we hope to accomplish here today is to have a dialogue by bringing some people who are experienced in a wide variety of areas in our community, for them to give you some feedback, some thoughts, some ideas, and to hopefully walk out of here with one or two items that you can take back to your employers. I read yesterday an online newsletter called Retail Group that Amazon wants to add 55,000 employees over the next few months, while Walmart plans to staff up to 20,000 workers ahead of the holidays. So just those two companies are going to be looking for 75,000 people across the country, which makes us small businesses here in Granbury even more of a challenge to find good employees. So to get things started, I'm going to have Adam Kern, who is with the North Central Texas Workforce Solutions Board, to kind of give an idea of what he does and some of the things that he's saying, and then we'll work our way down the panel from there. So Adam, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, thank you, sir. Like you said, my name is Adam Kern. I am your Senior Business Development Liaison. And he kind of combined us, which we had happen all the time. We introduced it as the North Central Texas Workforce Commission Solutions Workforce Board. But actually what it is we are the North Central Texas Workforce Board. But what you guys would see us as is we have a center in town. We service 14 counties surrounding Dallas and Perry. I'm your rural guy. I'm not here serving the Hood, Palo Pinto, Somersville, Erath, and Parker. But really what it is it's called Workforce Solutions for North Central Texas. Some of you have seen it. And so what we do is as your business development liaison, we actually speak with any employer that is willing to listen to us. We're often called the best kept secret in Texas, and we're tired of that. We'd like you to know everything about what we have to offer. But everything that I do is no cost to you, taxpayers, and about 95% of the businesses that I work with are under 10 employees. So this is kind of right up my alley here. But some of the things that we do is obviously helping you with your hiring services, hiring events. We always have events that are career exploration and opportunities for you to showcase your industry to the upcoming workforce, which is more important right now than anything. And then we also help you train your employees. So once you have employees in the interview, there are several options: skills development grants, skills development training, we call it. Again, no cost to you, and you don't even have to fill out the grant paperwork. Whether for college or in some cases no college, where your locations are, they'll do the paperwork for you and they'll train you. And then I also keep you informed with stuff like this, the labor market information, stuff that we were talking about. If you've ever gone to the Bureau website or TWC, it's like a matrix. It's literally like, okay, it's all free, all the information's free, good luck. I mean, like I'm a reports guy and I get on there, I'm like, I don't know. So we have a data analyst for you. That if you want to know, hey, what's my industry paying around my counties, right? I will, we'll be able to get it for you. Everything I do is in the charge statement, and I just want to talk to you about what your businesses are, needs are, and then just kind of fill in some of the gaps of what we can do to capitalize on the resources that we have. So, thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Next up is Aaron Grant. Aaron is the owner operator of Chick-fil-A here in Grantville.
Yeah, so yes, I've been here for 11 years and here in Grand Area, these are different times. I think we all feel it, we see it. I was listening to a conversation this morning with another restaurant that we're down here in town with staff. So we're all challenged, and so I think I can share a little bit of what we're doing with at Chick-fil-A as a whole, not just here in Grand Area. But they sent a survey out in June, and currently there's 69% of all restaurants, the operator, the owner there feels their talent is stretched very thin, very thin. And so they're making those moves like shutting down to take away from the stress that you can't do your job well, so that they can go home, they feel like they do their job well, they're not enjoying their job like they used to. And so they're making those moves because of the stress. And so 12% of owners in the Chick-fil-A industry are in crisis mode. I mean, literally said crisis mode. And then 19% are content with the staff that they have. So only less than 20% of all restaurants in the nation are content with the staff that they have. So if you're feeling it, I am. And so we're used together. So I think another fact too, they sent that survey out. They also sent the survey out to our team members. They actually tapped into our teams. And so my team, everyone's team, and kind of picked their brain on how they doing, what's going on, what's driving, what's making you leave. And so the number one, and this is no fault of Chick-fil-A, but it's just relocation. Like that's the number one. So I'm like, okay, good. All right, we're good, we're fine, we're nailing it. And the second one was actually, they wanted to have a say in the business. That doesn't mean that they get to choose whether they go on break or not, or what that thing. But they want to have a voice. They want to have their opinion matters. And that's number two. Number three was pay. So what number two tells me is the culture of business. So it all goes back and defines what the culture is. So when someone speaks up, are you listening? Do they get to be a part of it? Are you there? Are you present? And so what it communicates to us as a whole at the restaurant level is, you know, are we engaged? Am I engaged as the owner of the business? Are your managers engaged? Are they listening? Do your people matter? And so really demonstrating care with your actions. And that doesn't mean, when I say demonstrate care, those times where you bring donuts on Fridays, that's no longer good. Okay, throw that out. All right, that doesn't work anymore. Maybe before it doesn't anymore. It's serving alongside your team. Really, do you know their families? Do you know their dreams? You know, are you spending time with their kids' activities? And so, meaning, are you attending the birthdays of your employees? Are you attending the ball games? That's the influence. And that matters. So I got a text this week from a mom from a restaurant. She sent me their son's football schedule. I didn't ask for it, but it's a part of our community. And it's so important. She sent it to me. I didn't ask for it. And so it matters to her that I'm there. It matters to her. That's why she says it. So I need to take note and make sure that I show up. I better show up to it, right? I better show up to it. And then also staying engaged. So, which requires you to be the best. All right, you can't delegate yourself. You can't delegate yourself. You can't say, oh, hey, you're Aaron now, and you go do this. That doesn't work. Okay, so you've got to be present, be visible. You've got to be involved with your people. Get dirty, okay? It matters. And listen to the opinions of others, stay connected, right? And then the third, I would think, is, are you promoting an opportunity? And what that means, so I'll tell you this, everybody that is in a position of opportunity, that has a delegated task at my restaurant specifically, has not. They're there, they're engaged, they're a part of the business, they've been given a part of the business, they've been given a responsibility. They want ownership. That's what ownership looks like. And so for them, so if you have people that's on your staff that's been there long, you should be thinking, how can I give a part of this business? What part of the business can I give them? Because that will help you retain your talent. And so they just want to have an impact. At the end of the day, your people want to have an impact on the business. They want to feel important. They want to be there. So those are the few things that, in fact, is kind of happening through the Chick-fil-A chain. So things that we're discovering.
Thank you, we appreciate that. Next up, we have Kenna Harvest. Kenna is with Daphne Mechanical, and if you haven't seen their trucks around town, then you probably haven't been paying attention while you're driving. Kenna, go ahead.
Yes, so, I knew I was in trouble when I sat next to Aaron when I sat next to Art. No, and he said, as far as culture, he touched on so much, and so I'll kind of go forward and just give you a little background on myself. So I'm 26 years old, grew up here in Granbury, so I'm like one of those youngins that y'all talk about when you say like, they don't want to work, they just want to, collect unemployment and stay home and play video games. And so what I've enjoyed about being a part of Daphne for the last 4 years is giving, Daphne and also other business owners insight into the minds of us youngins. And so, and helping our audience connect with Daphne and their culture. And so aside from what Aaron said, what I work on specifically, my title, I don't think hard time because it's a pretty long title. But my title is Social Media and Daphne Culture Coordinator. And so what that looks like is, obviously, I manage our social media, I manage our Facebook. But then also over the last 4 years, how my position has evolved is just noticing that we have 40 employees right now. And as many of you know and have experienced, most of them work in high stress situations where we have technicians going into 100, no joke, 140-degree attics in the middle of the summer. Or we have customer service representatives who are answering the phones, being chewed out on a daily basis because we can't get to their homes fast enough. They've got babies who are hot, they're hot, and they just want somebody to come out soon. And so what we kind of started asking ourselves is how do we create an environment where people want to come work here? Because at face value, HVAC is rough, right? A lot of y'all, some of your experience may be that you don't trust HVAC technicians because of a poor experience that you've had in the past. And so we try to transcend that and to establish trust with our customers through building a culture where our team members are passionate about taking care of our clients. But we took a step back and realized the only way that we're going to be able to foster that culture where our team members are passionate and take ownership, like you said, of their customers that they're serving is if we as a business take ownership of taking phenomenal care of our people within house. And so I called my dad before this. My dad has owned Daphne for the last 10 years. And so when he asked me to come on, I was super, super excited and very honored. And so I called him this morning and I said, man, I think I have a hot button thing to say that may upset some people. But like we've kind of touched on already, when you start to get to the heart of your culture, maybe you realize it is, we at Daphne do not have trouble hiring. So if I put out a job ad on Facebook or Indeed for an install helper position, which is the lowest position on the totem pole, and we're pretty open about that. They get paid very minimum wage. It's a rough job. Their job is to run up and down the attics, grabbing tools and things like that. We just put out an ad opening for that position, and we through Indeed and Facebook got 20 applications. Some of them already had experience. Some of them had college degrees and things like that. So it's not just, somebody who's inexperienced, uneducated or something like that, we're getting qualified applicants. And so we started to ask ourselves, what are we doing? Because there are so many that are struggling with having a labor shortage. What are we adapting doing that is helping us when the time comes for us to hire people? And so Erin kind of touched on it already, but what we have done, strive for is to have a culture that people want to work at. So you look at Amazon. Amazon has established a very good brand, a very good culture. And so when Amazon says, hey, we need employees, people go work for them. You can think of, we've talked about Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey is a financial consultant. You have people that will sell their souls to go work for Dave Ramsey when the time comes. And so what I am passionate about helping other business owners find out is, okay, yes, there's a labor shortage, but is there also maybe for you a portion of ownership that you should take for a culture shortage? That you maybe have something in your culture that you're not taking phenomenal care of people. Maybe there's something that you can do better. And so some things that we do, we have core values, we have benefits, and we beat our people over the head with them to a point of annoyance. Because what we want to make sure is that when they're in 140-degree attics, contemplating, do I have heat stroke or not right now? They remember when they go home to their wives, I have people who care about them. I have a benefits program that rivals anything else that I can get here in Granbury. And you mentioned family, and what I have really leaned into this year, especially, is the reality that when your employees go home, you call them team members, when your team members go home, they want to like sit on the couch and they're either going to complain or brag about where they work and how their day was. And so if you're not having continual contact with the family, with those spouses, is the spouse of your team member going to advocate on your behalf for your business? Or are they going to go, you should quit. You should quit, that's horrible. I don't want you in that attic. I don't want you getting yelled at. You're not getting paid on that. Or if you made points of contact with the spouse, have you made an effort to connect with the family so that when it comes time, they go, hey, I know work is really rough. I hear you, that really sucks. But they take good care of us. They have great benefits. Let's think about the Christmas party. Let's think about the wiffle ball game that we have this fall. This is just a practical application. So when we have a team member join the family, I get the contact information for the spouse. And if we're hiring a man who has a wife, then we send the wife flowers on the husband's first day of employment. And the reason being is that we know we're about to thrust that it's a stressful day, first of all, for anybody to have the first day of their job. But we want to make sure that the spouse knows, hey, we recognize that this is a huge shift for you and your family. It's going to be really stressful. And so we make it a point to take practical steps to engage with the families that they are our advocate when the time comes. The spouse should say, I think I want to quit. And so make sure that the spouse is going to fight on your behalf. And then the social media wise, we have these benefits, we have this culture. And so I kind of like to have an inception mentality when it comes to social media. And so I engage in social media for our customers, yes, but what I'm also keeping in mind is, are there prospective team members scanning our social media, right? And so if they are we giving them enough information that they can determine on their own the kind of culture that DAPA has, that we have? And so we post about team events. We just had a guy run a half marathon. It has nothing to do with the air conditioning, but that's a team member that we want to cheer on. And so we posted, hey, look, Kyle ran a half marathon. Let's celebrate him. And so what I'm hoping is happening, and what has been happening when we've hired, since I've switched our social media strategy, is we've had employees, prospective employees, look at our Facebook, and we just hired an install helper. And he said, I can tell that I wasn't just going to be a number. He came from the oil field where he is just a number. There's extremely high turnover in the oil field. And so he knew, looking at our social media and our website, he wasn't going to be a number because we gave him the context via our social media to prove that that's right. Then you can say on your pages, whatever, your hiring pages and your website, we care about you, we're gonna take care of you. But social media gives you that opportunity to prove it. And then lastly, I've kind of touched on it already, but your website. Does your website have a clear distinction of what makes your business different? A lot of people will sit with me and be like, my business is different. My wife and I started this 40 years ago, and we have the best business in town. And then you go and you look at their website and their social media, or you look at a hiring post, for instance. It's like benefits, competitive wages, 401k. Everybody has that at this point because everybody saw, oh, we want competitive wages and 401k. So the first thing they put on the benefits, competitive wages and 401k. And so you no longer have this leverage above your competition. Let's just say your competition is every job opening in Granbury right now. So you no longer have that leverage. And so make sure that you have clear mission, clear vision, clear benefits to list. So that people go, you know, we say, first one that we say is we are a family focused business. We know that outside of Daphne, I would love for Daphne to be cold, where we all live in a compound together and we all eat, sleep, and breathe Daphne, but that's not the reality. Yeah, you would know. I would love it. But we would all love to eat, sleep, and breathe Daphne, but that's not the reality. Our team members go home to their families. They go home and they dream about things that they want to pursue. So what we do is create an environment where we say, we want to support you in your family, we want to support you in your dreams. So those are the two things that I list first. We're going to help create a family-focused environment, and then we're going to help you pursue your dreams so that you can take yourself to the next level. And then we say things like health insurance plan, you know, 401k. So that's what I do at Yakin, and I'm excited to help everybody.
Thanks, again, I appreciate that. So, next up is Kate Rocket with Forward Training Center. Sometimes when we're recruiting employees, we forget to look right in front of our faces, but we've got trained individuals who are ready to go to work today. Kate, if you want.
Well, this is, so, coming in third year, I'm trying to, or fourth, I'm trying to think that. We come from a different angle because, our employees are volunteers. So I'll start with that. Forward Training Center is pretty much, it's two staff and then there's educational program we put on. So we have about 98% volunteerism. But I will say, as far as being the business part that they're talking about, culture, core values, we want to keep our volunteers always wanting to come back, doing the extra job. It is the culture. It is the fact that they know they own, they are part of it, they believe in what we do. And and I will say, again, they do, I think a lot of them eat, breathe, and sleep it. We don't have a pulse. No, because that portion of the Forward Training Center is similar to other businesses, that we have that there. But we are very different in the way that what happens, what Forward Training Center does, is we actually have the public come to us when they are not really fitting in the workplace for some reason. There's a challenge of some sort. And so we offer an educational program with a broad range. We believe that we have a comprehensive program that anyone comes to, they can actually, it'll touch on almost every area of their life. And it can also affect their personal life as well, because we do employer searches and things like that. But mainly what we do is we offer job skills training. And that is a broad term that, let me just narrow it down and say, we really, first of all, we bring them in and have an interview. A program director, Lori Lilly, takes each student or volunteer that comes in and has a very relaxing interview conversation about, tell me about yourself. And this is what we do to interview, and then they begin to explain. And then she begins to hear them, as you were saying, what they desire, what the challenges could be, but also what they may want to do, they want to do. They want to improve themselves. So then Lori will go through and find out what obstacles we have to do to prevent them from coming to class. First building and get there. So She does all that and prepares. Her job also involves that after she's met the student, and understood where they come from. When we met, we do pairing a mentor to, one-to-one as best we can, but we try to mentor, one to two at least. And so what happens is she knows our volunteers and our mentors, so she then begins to try to prepare them where they would be a team. So this is kind of how we start. We come in, we care about people. We're about what is going on, what's really moving forward. Once we get a little bit of that out in the relaxing, loving atmosphere, they come into class, and then we teach them the value of work, the dignity of work. I will tell you, the typical person walking through our door will come in with their head down. They look down at the floor. They don't want to look at you. Their shoulders are slumped. They're beaten down. So that's a lot of people that you're going to hire. They come to us that way, and that's why we're not really making it here. So what we see is that, and we just, as we begin with the classes, they begin to learn. One of the first things they do in class is, after a few introductions, we let them have a time where they can tell what they want to tell about their story. So 3 minutes of their life they share with the group. And that's it. They can choose what it is, but basically, what is it you want to tell the group about yourself? And then that's their past. And then from then on, we move forward and we say, okay, now we thank you, but now let's look at the future. So then we begin to, it really begins with, how do you teach a work ethic? Is that possible? I don't know. I know we see people who do not know what that even means. They don't know what the word means. They don't understand that that means to be a reliable, honorable, things of character. It means, what is your character? Who are you? And then also we're teaching them, what would your employer expect from you? You sign a contract, you're taking money from them. What do they want from you? And one of the things we try to do is paint a picture of how would it be if you went to work no matter what the job is, lowest thing on the job list, but you treated it as if you were the owner. Oh my goodness. And that's something someone doesn't always think about. Because if you do not do your job, if you do not show up, if you do not do everything you should do, that you can hire to do, then it's a domino effect. It can affect the whole business to fail if people don't show up, if you don't do your part. But it's the pride and the ownership of knowing they are important, just like we were hearing here, a value of people. People are valuable. And so I think that these are the things that we also teach them, the practical skills. And you've got to absolutely have, you've got to be able to speak to people, so we need to practice that. You have to be able to have an exceptional resume. And they sometimes think they don't have any skills at all, and have a great team. Go in and say, well, what are you doing on your life? Let's talk about it. And they write it down, and then they equate that into marketable talents and skills. Then we go into the mock interviews. We have to look at a career. We want them to find out. So most people, if you find what you love and you go to work in that direction, if you're talented with mechanical, if you're talented with people or animals, whatever if you'll find a job in that skill, that area, then you probably will really love your job. And then of course, so we try to help them find out what they're good at, give them about 3 choices. And then they're required to have a vocational plan for at least 6, 12, up to 5-year plan how to achieve that goal. And so these are things that we're trying to do, is to really have them believe in themselves, see if they don't have their own value. Like I say, I think Lori would say about probably 4th week of 4th class, somewhere around there. Oh my goodness, you start seeing people sitting in the straight. Oh my goodness, you'll see the people who have very ungroomed appearance when they came in, with nobody saying anything. All these things begin to happen, not because when we create a community of a loving environment that you're valuable, they begin to believe in themselves again, because they are. So these are the things we're working on there. I would say that we have the mock interviews, and maybe someone's panel in there and, you know, room, come up and we run through the mill. I'll tell you, going to board training center is no easy thing. And you have criteria, and you don't need it, because, for instance, if you don't, like, if you're tardy, you're fired. I mean, really, we're exhausted. You have to learn that you have responsibility. So, you know, you can't really be absent. There's things that we have that are requirements for graduation. There's homework assignments that are very thoughtful, and they're not just age, but it's very detailed. So this is where we go, and I think we spend 2 months. Okay, think about it, 2 months with someone, and you have a mentor sitting next to you. Well, you can do this, like that, how are you? But they begin to talk to each other. We just see them rise up and literally bloom in front of us. I mean, it's the best thing I've ever seen in the world, and so none of us would ever want to leave our jobs. So I do want to tell you a couple of things, that kind of gives you an idea, I'll give you questions more about what we actually, how that works, but we're open to the public at no cost. We don't stop just with the job skills part, we also want to make sure they're required to have a basic, if they don't know keyboarding, we have it. If they basic computer, they need to know the Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, Excel, they need these skills. We now offer QuickBooks as an advanced one, because the people in the workforce sometimes don't have that to start coming in the door. So we have those as well. And if you test out on some of those, you don't have to take them, but if you haven't, you just take all that. And so those are the things we offer. Affordable housing, we do finance, of course. How do you manage your money? It's huge. If you get the job and earn the money, you know what to do with it. It's done that. So I believe when they leave our organization, they have all the tools they need, the encouragement, the family is forward, they're always welcome that. I believe that they can, they know that. We have people are just constantly wanting to say, hey, do you have any other job leads? People call us for that. We're not a job placement service, but people call us and say, there's classmates, students that are coming up and not doing these skills. Some of the things our people are wanting to, top jobs are looking for. We have a lot of healthcare, working with animals, social services. Now, there's also some skills they want that I wanted to mention those 3 topics. People who come to us generally have traumatic experiences, and most of us have anyway. But something stopped them from going forward. Some of us go on forward. So I'll say that I believe a lot of these skills are in their programs because they want to help others. There are things they want to get back, or maybe they've been in there for a parent that have lived in a dysfunctional situation, so they want to help others immediately to not have to face that. Some of these are long-term, so they may need 5 to 10 years of college, so they know that and work with them if they're interested in that. But trades are very popular as well. They're very interesting. HVAC, with the electrical, we have a lot of people wanting to do entrepreneurships. So things like that. We have people coming with disability. I'm sorry that I have to keep thinking somebody's talking to me. Disabilities is not an issue for us. If you are able to read, write, understand, and comprehend, we have really great success with challenges of mental and also physical conditions. But we have a lot of entrepreneurs wanting to come out. They want to build something of their own. So pretty exciting here. I think I'd just like to say I can answer any questions and we'll have some other comments. But Board Training Center is unique with that. We're open to the public. We do not charge anyone. And we believe that we're building up the workforce here in the community to be the kind of people that you want to hire. And then I think that for me to say to you is what I'm seeing and what our organization is seeing is awareness for the community, for the public, employers to know the demographic in which you are pulling from for your employers' ways. So for instance, you need to have awareness of what are they living in, where are they from. We have a lot of maybe second career people that come here, they're retired, just want to work, And then we also have a lot of people that are in generational poverty. If you're not aware of that, there's a lot of good, I can give you a lot of good information about that. That's really the demographic we're serving to it, because there's, we have a great deal of, people staying in food lines and getting food every week to support themselves. And so why is that? Why are there 4 generations of them? Why are the grandmother, the mother, child, and children? I mean, what is this about? We need to be aware of what we're talking about here. And so that's what we need to help the most, is they don't really know the rules of working in society. They don't know, they don't come in how to come into this. So when they leave our organization, we have an interested, we, I believe, open their eyes to get the rules of employment, so they can be prepared for in the interview and exit and get the job. And then we develop their inner core, their responsibility on their part. And I believe that it produces really great opportunity. And I think that if employers can also think about their challenges, the childcare, transportation, and things like that, that you need to look at. You need to look at where are they coming from? Are they going to be able to manage the job and things like that? I did a little survey and came out very similar to what Aaron said. Since I knew this was happening, I wanted to know about the wages for this fit. And mainly the first thing people said was that they wanted to their direct supervisor to have good communication, and for that person for them to have some sort of a relationship, so a comfortable relationship. The second thing they wanted was to have ownership or say, or really more than that, to really know they're not replaceable, to have value, for them to feel like they need me, they want me back, and this kind of thing. The third thing is what I thought that was interesting. I asked about wages, and you wanted wages, and they said, no, it was just pretty much saying they didn't really believe in starting out at high pay. When they thought minimum wage thing was fine, but they wanted to know up front there's incentives for them, that there's a place to go, that they will have an opportunity to advance in the company. But they like the idea of, and this is interesting, I thought, they didn't really want you to get a standardized rating. They wanted on productivity. They wanted it on an individual assessment of what did I do, and I get a raise for that, not just the in and out. You earned it. And I thought I love these answers, because it's something I don't know that we're really thinking that that's what they want. And also it causes them to they earn it, so it kind of balances. And so they do want the wages. Another thing was the 90-day trial is not just for the employer, it's for the employee. Do I have 90 days? No, I don't. Because they're valuable to see. We kind of listen to them like we're going to test you for 90 days. I don't know if that's what you do, but that's what I always thought 90-day trial period was. I didn't ever think it was for the employee to determine they wanted to associate with your company, and that maybe that they wouldn't be told like they lost the job if they leave your employment after 90 days because of the work culture. And that is the last thing I'll mention, is that we're teaching them how to solve conflict on the job. One of the worst things people in your employment perhaps could be is that the person in the break room are the people that are already there and how they treat them. That it becomes very, very uncomfortable, sometimes and all this kind of so conflict in the workplace, how to resolve it and win. Also,
Thank you, Katie. And then next up, in 2019, the unemployment rate across the US was approaching 3%, among the lowest it has ever been post-World War II. Fast forward to 2020, when the pandemic hit, and it goes to 14%. And now we're seeing it drop back down. And so typically when these kinds of models take place, we see a growth in entrepreneurship. So our next speaker is Pam Hook, who's with the Small Business Development Center in Charleston State. Pam?
I can add to everything that each one of these panelists just said, and I thought we were the next step.
best kept secret. in
We
the
work
area.
together very well.
Yeah, you know, our services are also free of charge. I'll give you a little bit about what this is, okay? We help people start businesses. We don't stop there. We help people manage businesses. We help people grow businesses. We help people who have decided that I've been doing this for 40 years and I think it's time for me to retire. So what's my exit strategy? How can I sell my business? How can I move on to retirement? You know, those types of things. So we are there from inception, dream, whatever you want to call it, to I'm retired. We can be there every step of the way. We can provide research, you can't even imagine. Demographic information for you, what are the wages in your area, what's the traffic flow in your area. That was a little difficult to get to, but we can get you some types of information. How many other businesses are in a 50-mile radius that are the same thing I'm doing? Oh, wow, is the market oversaturated already? Maybe I should rethink where I'm located. Things of that nature. We also can provide you with financial, meaning break-even analysis. Do you know what you have to make in a year to break even? I'm not talking about make a profit, I'm talking break even. You know, where are our numbers? We look at, have you reset your prices recently? I mean, transportation costs and supply costs in the last year and a half, everybody knows what they are, okay? They know that they've changed. Have your prices gone up? And everybody says, no, we can't do that. Well, you gotta think about it. You either end up closing or you raise your prices a little bit to recoup some of those additional costs, okay? We can look at that type of information where we can help you run your numbers. We can, I guess like she said, we can analyze your numbers. We can't put your numbers together, but with the information you provide us, we can do that. You want to expand? You need a business plan of some kind. SBA has funds available. We can help you with those. We can help you put an entire business plan together to go to a local banker. That's what they want to see. We have bankers all the time. We get calls and it's like, so-and-so at this bank referred me to you because they want to see a business plan. I have no idea what that is. Come on in, we can help you with a business plan.
If I can add just something to that, the banks and things that I spoke to, I came at Wyoming World several years ago, and the SBC had some of the best business plans they've ever seen. They're like, this is an open and shut, like, we're approving this because, and they actually will call and say, how did you get such a business plan and it's free, where people pay thousands for that, without knowing about it, it's thousands for consultants, but and what they do over there is second to none.
Yeah, I will agree with that. I mean, this is a good business plan. If you go to the consultant, $1,000 depending on what size business you want. Okay. We do them for loans in the $2 and $3 million range, and we do them for 25 to 50,000. Okay. I mean, it doesn't matter. Size doesn't matter to us in terms of what we can help you with. I guess that's a little bit about what we do. Now, let me talk about some of the other things that I think everybody else here is pretty much touched on. 3%. Unemployment. 2 years ago. Okay. Guess what? At any given time, the normal unemployment rate is going to be 3%. There's 3% of the population, for whatever reason, is unemployed. They have physical, emotional, whatever deficiencies that prohibit them from being employed, or they just don't want to be. Okay? When they look at some of these, it's not so much how many people are on employment, it's how many people are on employment compared to how many in the working age. In the last year and a half, people have gone home. In some cases, both men or women have said, we made it on one salary. I'm paying somebody to look after the kids. Wow. Maybe we should just continue what we've been doing for the last year and a half. And I stay home again, men or women, whichever one it is. And I'm gonna opt out of the workforce. Okay? Others have said, I'm tired of working for people, they're just like, no, anyway. I'm gonna go into business for myself, and then becomes yes. Okay, so there's those type of things that happen in the last year and a half. It's not all been brought on by COVID. Let's talk about something else, baby boomers. I'm at the tail end of the baby boomers, okay? We're all about to retire. We've already started retiring. The workforce has gone down. Let's talk about another factor. And I can give you all kinds of numbers and facts. I want to do that. I just want to talk about the causes, okay? Birth rate, 2.1. Okay, that means that for every woman, they're having about 2 people. That only applies to you and your husband. Doesn't apply to anybody else. What about those that don't have it? What about some that decide we don't want children? What about those that have grown their career and are way too long on those to have 2 children? They're only going to have 1 because, oh, I started. All of these things that come into play. This is something that is starting now, and I don't want to bring bad news, but this is going to continue. Another question or another comment that was made is work ethic. Gen Xers and millennials, it's not the same. They're not going to find the work ethic that you have. People have gone to part-time work because they want a better life balance. In some cases, it's because they are children of baby boomers who, at this point in history, have more income and more wealth than anybody else in the past. So I'm not going to say they're trust fund babies, but they have a little bit more means, so they don't necessarily have to work a 40-hour. Okay. All of these things have compounded to make this whole situation difficult. Now, let's see what we can do to help, okay? The research that I looked at, my own personal opinions, and what I've gone through for the last, I don't even want to say how many years. I went to work when I was 16 years old, so that gives you an idea, okay? I was very blessed, and then I took 17 years off and raised my kids. But I can tell you that I worked just as hard then with every volunteer thing I could possibly do because I didn't need a job. Actually, at least not in money anyway. But one of the things that I was very blessed with is to have mentors throughout my jobs. They took me under their wing. They said, let me help you. And it didn't have to be top guys, sometimes it was. It could be an admin assistant secretary that said, let me tell you who's going to work around here, because I know. I know who to watch out for, I know what the buttons are that are going to upset people, what they're going to want, okay? So mentorship, ownership, saying you're valued. We all want to be valued. We all want to think that what we do is important. And we want to think that what we do is important enough that it gets us recognized, and it may cause us to get that little bump in whatever it is, titles, responsibilities, money maybe too, okay? But we all want to be valued. Culture is another thing, family culture. Promotional type perks. Does your business provide education assistance? And somebody go to a junior college or, a full college at night or whatever, I'm not saying that they're gonna take time off, but, when I was in college, I worked an office job. And after 2 years of working there, I actually worked at the same company in high school. They came to me and said, hey, we're gonna put you on a salary. And that means since you're working 50% of the time, we're gonna pay for education. Wow, yeah, I like that. And that was back when education wasn't nearly as possible, But I thought it was great that I could get $300 reimbursement for college tuition for a semester. It's great, okay? The other thing, retention meetings. A lot of times you have meetings with people and you say, well, why aren't you leaving us? Why are you leaving? Well, that's important to know too. But how about the people that are still there? Maybe once a year you bring them in and you say, price dividends, why are you here? What do you like? What do you dislike? Open communications, always open communications, honesty with employees. They want to be a part, they want to help you solve problems. How do you know that there's not some 22-year-old sitting out there working for you that has this great idea, but they're so intimidated and so young and inexperienced, they don't think they can bring it to you. It may be the best idea you've ever had. This would give them an opportunity to tell you that. It may not be the best idea you've ever had, but you might can take it and make it into something else because of their one suggestion. Things of that nature. It's not just about the money anymore. It's important, we all need it. And it keeps going up and up and up in terms of expenses. We know that. But those are the types of things that I think we need to look at. Where can we find people? How do we get them? You know, there's all kinds of free free recruiting that you can do. Social media is a great one. Put it out on Facebook, put it out on Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is that you're into. People look at those. Craigslist, I thought, is that even now? That's all I hear today. I didn't know that was still here. Those types of things. Your chamber, you know, they all have job posting sites. Those community sites, you know, whatever. And then there's about 10 or 12 just off the top that, you know, I went through and found Indeed, Monster, what is it, Dice, LinkedIn, all of those are free sites that you can move through on. So those are some of your options as well. I think I'm going to stop there. Let people ask questions if they want to when we go on. But you're not alone. I can tell you that, number one, I was wanting to do the care summit. I have only recently gone to work at the SBDC. Before that, I worked at Charlton in the budgeting area, and I was one of the layoffs. So last year for me has been tough. I have, I'm not trying to get sympathy or anything else, but I was laid off, lost a husband, and then sat at home by myself because we've been down. It was hard. And so there are a lot of people out there that just need to get out and work. She can help, you know, these others can help, you know, whatever. Make them part of your families. If they feel valued, they're going to do a good job for you. If they don't, they're not. And I think that's the bottom line.
Great, so, a lot of good information. We're gonna take about a 5-minute break real quick, and we're gonna come back and start with some questions to the panelists from the audience. We've got some prepared questions, but, we'll take a 5-minute break real quick, and we'll come back, okay?
If anybody's looking for facilities, you can go out this door here and around the hall and there's a direct.
put together, that is by industry, and I think you'll find that it's eye-opening. And then there is a report that we, will send out electronically. There's also some hard copies in the back. This is from the MC report about the demographic drought. It talks about, kind of like what Dan was saying, the number of people that are actually leaving the workforce that are just disappearing. One of the statistics that I wanted to quote was that in February of 2020, to February of 2021, 2.4 million women left the workforce. Those were women that were working in your jobs, our jobs. And it's even more dire for prime age men. They're disappearing in droves. Make sure you get a copy of this and read it, because what I want to jump into right now is recruiting has changed. And tell us from workforce perspective, how has recruiting changed with the business that you're working?
That's a great question. It's actually something that I'll ask if and when I meet with any of you, I'm gonna ask you how we recruit this. The thing about today is, it's literally, I say today, but it's, quick pivoting. The best thing about being in Granbury or in our area is that, we're not Google and all these very going to take forever to change culture or how we recruit. Some of us are going to have the ability to pivot quickly, and you need to. But the biggest trends I'm seeing now are, it actually starts with what we've been talking about. Your internal recruiting, asking why you have employees that have stayed with you, and then also asking, reaching out to those employees that left, that you had a relationship with, that you were surprised they left, buy them a Starbucks, and that $5 to say, hey, I want to meet with you and find out exactly what happened. Buy them that $5, that will be the most valuable conversation you will have regarding your own culture. So once you have that though, once you have an idea of that, you recruit with your culture. You have to go out. So some of the best, the biggest improvements I've seen are little creature things like he said, bringing the donuts on Friday. And that, it doesn't, don't just do that anymore. He said not to do that anymore, but I'm gonna say, still do the donuts, don't just do the donuts. Everybody loves donuts, don't stop that one, but,
Tacos.
yeah, bingo, taco, but no, that's something funny, and you might spend $300 or $400 a month on, Gatorades or anything, 143 addicts and things like that. It's a lot cheaper than giving people raises, but you've got to recruit with your own culture, because everybody, how many damn different, Facebook groups and all that stuff, and pastors will tell you, and your mom's uncle's cousin's gonna refer you to this one. They're only gonna refer you to culture. We can all get referred to pay. My favorite one is you go out on the job market, or when you post your thing, you guys get reached out to, like, I made $8,400 from, my couch just on doing this online trick and stuff. And, those are all just, the real career seekers are not interested in that. So what they're doing now is they're doing their research on you. There's never been a time when anybody can do more research on a company than today. Because, and you can do the exact same thing on that. So, but the biggest culture changes that I've seen when people are starting to damage from within, then they actually, their job postings don't say maintenance tech. Or the title might say maintenance tech, the description is, do you value a culture that's like family? Do you do this? Do you like doing things with your hands? Things like that. They're not your cookie cutter job description. Because like I said, the ability to go on any website at any time and look at all these job descriptions and do the same, you gotta memorize. You're gonna scan for things that would differentiate your company from other people's companies. So that's the biggest change in terms of that people have to start looking at the automatic stuff, your automatic screening processes, things like that. Those are the biggest, that's the new trend is hey, we gotta ditch that auto screening process a little bit. And we got to start looking at candidate pools that we may not have looked at before. Talk to the SBC, talk to Workforce Solutions. You just give me a call, and we have candidate programs that are like the subsidized work experience, where you're going to get we're going to pay for them to work for you for up to 6 months, so you can try before you buy. That it's going to be a candidate that might come from Katie's organization who doesn't have what your automatic screening process would have booted out. But what they have is a humbleness and an attitude and gratefulness to find a job that they weren't able to secure before by just filling it out. They're gonna be like, man, these people took me in. But that's the biggest thing, is that change in how you're recruiting and how you're describing your own culture at your job.
Aaron, talk about the Chick-fil-A brand mentality, because obviously the company works very hard to develop and cultivate the brand to where teammates want to be a part of that organization.
So the Chick-fil-A franchise models, which were, because I'm involved as the owner operator, that I'm there. Ground zero. And I think it's very important that the culture, I'm responsible for that culture. I'm responsible for the people that I hire. I'm responsible for the talent that I put in place. And so when we think about that, I think about John Maxwell, he says everything rises and falls on the vision, right? And at the end of the day, if the buck stops with me, right? And so I better be present. And so I think to answer your question, the model is a lot different than a lot of other franchises. And it's me being present. It's me rubbing shoulders alongside the other team members or my upper tier directors that I lean on and make sure they're doing their jobs and their roles. But I'm rubbing shoulders with them. You might see me during lunch today. I might just be the driver, handing the drinks. And that matters so much because they want to see me seeing what they're going to do. And it gives me the opportunity to say, how's your day? And that I care about them, that just that little bit of care, just acknowledging their presence, that they're there, and that I get it that it's stressful at times. I understand. Listen.
So I work as a consultant with 4,100 organizations across the country, and we're seeing folks that are in your position getting burned out. So they're not owners, they're executive directors, but they're burned out. They've been in the trenches with their employees. They've been serving lunches to kids. They've been, opening the doors at 7 in the morning and closing the doors at 9 at night, and they're burned out. They're tired. They've been running out of adrenaline for 16 months. What can you do to retain them? Because that's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid we're going to lose those folks that are sitting in your seat. So how do we encourage them to have work-life balance? How do we encourage them to be healthy?
So so again, that's my responsibility. So what did we do last week? We shut down the dining. Why? Because they know the culture that our expectation to serve our guests is so important. It's been ingrained for so long. And if they can't do their job well, that's what they're gonna feel like. They're gonna feel like they can't do their job. They're gonna go home and they're gonna complain to their spouse. And their spouse says, oh, man, you can't serve in your household, you can't do your job well, you're exhausted. It's a reflection on who it's gonna be me. And so what do I have to do? Well, I need to shut the dining down. So that was my bottom goal, saying, hey guys, we can't sustain this and do it well because you guys are pounding. And I don't have enough people to sustain the culture to serve our guests inside, right? And we also shut our mobile curbside. So I didn't have people when your order comes up, to take your drink, take your food, walk across the parking lot and serve you. We couldn't do that. And so if I continue to open, these guys are pounding, to your point. So I think really what I'm seeing across the board, just the Chick-fil-A in general, is what is best for their community. So what is best for your organization? I've seen them narrow their hours. Okay, so I've seen they would open later, 10 o'clock, they may close at 8. Why? Well, they're later times because maybe you have high school students who they don't have enough of them or they can't stay late anymore. So hey, let's close at 8. Right? So I gotta get these kids out, they can't stay late. Right? Or maybe we'll just open up later. So I don't have the talent of people there. So hours of operation you can change. you can change things like a dining room. I don't know to your organization what that looks like, but you've got to pivot, right? You got to feel the weight of these people. And you're like, okay, what do I have to do to change? I got to pivot. I got to make this. It's going to look different for everyone, for every restaurant, even with Chick-fil-A.
You've got, can I say something? You've got to look at your business model. Whatever business it is, look at that model. And these are not things, I know one of the things for me is asked for time, how much you do that constantly. But at least once a year, look at your major things. But you're gonna have to think out of the box on some of this. And he's right, if you're not making as much money later in the day or earlier in the morning, change your hours.
One thing to add to that, if it's okay, just what he said is, he didn't tell his employees that he's shutting down because, you know, I mean, again, a lot of times it comes down to human decency, where a lot of us work are, you know, I mean, because we get into something we're passionate about it, and you find out, wow, this kid's cleaning the coffee machine like extra good, I didn't need him to, but that's great that he's doing that. Literally just saying, I love that you did that, that's great. A lot of us will, you know, white knuckle it and do all this stuff like that, but it's how you say it sometimes. So when you said, I'm shutting it down, you're like, hey, I can't pay, I'm not making enough money to do this, I have to shut it down. Like the Ace Hardware that I went to 3 o'clock the other day. The guy was so cranky and said, I go, oh, it's 3 o'clock, are you guys normal like, you know? No, I have none of these stupid kids that want to come work. Oh, well, I can see that they're, you know, shit. Right, then, okay, that's good, but if you do those, how you say it, so it's, I mean, I'm burnt out, guys, we're all burnt out. You can have to close anyway, you know, that night anyway, deliver in that way, okay, we can't deliver it the way we want to, but also that's because I know it's gonna stress you guys out, so let's do that. I mean, that is the funny part about it, is that we're human, you know, everybody's supposed to go to work, but baby boomers, you're supposed to go to work. My generation, you know, you know, I don't know why I have to go to work, you know, I mean, I got my money coming in every $500 every 2 weeks and stuff. So, but I'm just saying, you have to, that mentality of like, I work my fingers to the bone, but every time Katie or, you know, every time, you know, he's gonna come to me and say, oh, I love how hard you work, thank you, I know your stress is gonna get better, but man, all I can do is tell you how thankful I am. And it's like, oh, okay. You know, that feels a little better. So sometimes it's just how you do it.
Something about the executive, I don't remember what my dad.
It's okay.
About the executive directors, because I am an executive director, and we have a strong staff. And you do get burned out, because it never really stops, and it's executive, not in your head.
It's tired.
It's very we're tired, and in terms of at the top, when you're tired, I can do all kinds of things from it. So, and we made a lot of modifications, but that doesn't help us that much. One thing that has helped us, and I just want to share this, is that we have an executive director forum that is all the other executive directors, a lot of those executive directors. And we can communicate with each other, and we can share things that we're doing, and to try to relieve some of the stress for us, which is one of those things is to stop and say, I have to take some time off from people. If I don't, I have great people that work for me. I hire them because they're great. They do an awesome job. It is up to me to be responsible enough to give them to not try to do it all myself. And something I need encouragement, sometimes they're good about encouraging me to do that. But sometimes we need to engage our staff enough and engage enough and let go of the control enough to listen to them and follow their lead. And I get a lot of encouragement from other executive directors. Sometimes it's just being able to build that network and be able to tap into that. You know, you're not by yourself.
So I'm healthcare, so we can, you know, so we are a home care company. We're not a home health company. Our staff goes to one home and they're there from anywhere from 4 hours to 20 hours. So I find it very hard to build a culture, because everybody's everywhere, right? And we can't really have a group event because we're open 24/7, you know? And so I find that that's really hard. You know, if anybody has any ideas on a company like ours, that everybody's out, never able to be together. And then the demands that we're just getting on a daily basis of, you know, well, you need to pay me to drive to work. You know, gas prices are up, so I expect to be paid to drive to work. Well, it doesn't work that way. I mean, these are serious, I mean, they're serious. These are the demands, and they feel like because everybody is hiring, that they can make these demands. So that's super hard. And then for us too, you know, I can get 20 applicants, but because we are sending people into homes, our background checks are crazy. I mean, I might get 20 apps, we might be able to hire 2. And that we have to do, you know, but it makes it super hard. And, you know, mainly I feel like, well, you know, that, having that culture, having that, if anybody has some suggestions on how to do that when it's a company like ours that's all spread out where we can't really be together, you know, we're a very small company, so, you know.
Well, the culture can be, doesn't have to be corporate.
Yeah.
It can be their relationship. Are you calling people who have long shifts? How's your day going? Any problems? Give them ideas.
Yeah.
Being there, hey, I want to get through.
Yeah.
It could be your team visiting the home while your person's there. Hey, how's it going? Hey, brought you some cookies. Yeah, I know. I just said, what are you doing? You know, so it could be more of a relationship with them and than it is the culture. Yeah, it is. But, you know, you can get everybody together in groups. You know, here's a group, we have another day that other people can do it. And that helps them, you know, share stories and share ideas and you know, get it all out of there. You know, we have that possible. You can't get it.
Yeah.
We get groups of people together and then really have to establish a relationship with the manager and one. Just fun.
When it comes to transparency, you're gonna hear me say that a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't say it a lot with his stuff, is transparency. People get transparency and it's shot. I mean, like I said, I'll talk to 800 businesses in a year and they'll say, I can't tell them that. Why not? Why would, I mean, I'm not saying don't tell them their paycheck's not coming next week. I mean, but why not? I mean, because they're gonna have to find stuff out anyway. But the transparency is that also giving them that delegation and ownership. But when she's talking about, we're talking about your consultant, and your clients getting burned out, transparency will reveal who your coaches are. Where you may not, so for an executive director or for you, and your instance, like you said, there were 2 shifts and stuff, ask them, they're in the business with you, tell them, guys, I would love to have a bowling night with all of you. I'd love to do whatever, you know, whatever it is they say, you know, whatever it is that they, I mean, again, I was in the office. But they're in it, they know, hey, so just start asking your people, hey, guys, what would it be, what are some ideas that, you know, might kind of prove that it's possible for us to do, you know? And they may say, you know what, I don't know, some of the stiff treats, you know, for a while, or shit like that, you know, just those things that you can control. And it's not always money. Start their day off with a, you know, I know you guys are out, but something down with a quote every day. Like my wife is the director of the child person, zero leadership experience, but she has human decency and all that stuff. And she literally just found an app that allows her to automatically send a text to any number that she puts into it. In a motivation thing. Well, she wasn't getting any feedback on it and all that stuff, so she stopped it. 9 other people came up to her like, hey, what are our little things? She's like, oh, I thought it was stupid. I mean, hey, you know, it was kind of nice. I missed it now. So those are like simple little things. But getting burned out is with that transparency and bringing it in. Hey guys, I'm here with you every day and stuff. But it's not always the top performers that are going to be your coaches. Find out with a virtual anonymous suggestion box on, guys, if I were to, if the executive director were to, you know, have to go on a sabbatical for a month, who do you guys think would be a good person to, just give my message and also, I'm not here? A lot of times you'll find out it's somebody, you're like, wow, I didn't know that would be a person. I mean, the greatest hitting coaches in baseball are never, ever the best hitters ever. They're not, it's funny, you think that Michael Jordan, horrible basketball owner, and I mean, he's a guy, but court, he's never gonna coach because he's the greatest at what he did, but it doesn't just mean he's the greatest leader. It just means that he led by, I'm getting on this train to go with people in the ring. But so look at those types of things, but a lot of that comes with transparency. Find out. That doesn't cost any money, and like you said, yeah, break up into 3 groups. Tell them, guys, I gotta break this up into 3 groups because I got early morning, midday, and night shift. So we gotta do this the best we can, That really goes a long way. But I know what you're in, and that's tough one. Also,
You're in a really unique situation in South Carolina, in healthcare, children's hospital, all places. And, I've noticed that they've had to close, he does radiology work. So they've had to close some peripheral campuses throughout all this as they're still short staffed. But he's asked things of his managers and directors under him, to pick up extra shifts or cover something extra. But every time he has done that and had to, of course, they're throwing money at them left and right, because that's not the issue right now. And that doesn't even count. You can't even pay somebody $1,500 to pick up a shift in the hospital. In the situation that he's in, there just aren't the people to do it. I would be doing it too. But what he does do is whenever he adds something to somebody's plate or asks them to shift or do something that they haven't done in a while, he'll do it first. He'll tell me I gotta work third shift this week. He's been there 20 years. He doesn't have to do that, but he does that because it boils down to leadership. And are you willing to pick up with that? And but he's also very good. He says, I've done a lot extra. I need to take care of my family too, and we need to take care of ourselves. So we're going to take this time off.
also
So
several.
he's much better at that than most women probably.
So I have a very specific question for your situation, or suggestion. Do you guys have any kind of a group text that you use to keep up with each other?
We do. It gets, we have Granbury, Fort Worth, Weatherford, so we have about 86 staff members, so it can just get.
So we have a grouping, who's familiar with that, we have a group meet, and it includes my staff in the office, it includes just the leadership team, and then we have the same thing where all the technicians come in the morning and the installers who are gone for the day, so they each have separate group meets as well, so with the technicians and the installers, and like if I get a good review in, I'll screenshot it and send it to that group meet and, praise them for doing a great job and stuff like that, but it's also helpful, like, we ask, hey, I'm gonna go to Starbucks and one, right? Or, so-and-so did a great job today, or just silly, stupid, memes or whatever. But it helps to just, I don't know, it helps to have that camaraderie, when, like you said, you just do it.
Yeah, and these are all, I think it's hard to bring it as, we're the one that's hiring, we're the ones that, doing all that. I don't own the business, obviously. It's a great company, it's great owners. But it's hard, I think the people like y'all understand this, but other business owners don't always understand because they're not in the thick of it. Okay, this is what we're gonna have to do. We're gonna have to give a gas card, or we're gonna have to do this. And so it's hard to approach, the owners of the business, of different businesses. Okay, this is what we have to do, especially when the business was started in the 80s. Well, the 80s is way different than 2022, whatever. And so that's kind of a, headache.
Calculate how much loss of the customer costs. They don't talk in the around and all that. I don't understand that either, but I'll speak to many of you here, and some of you are like, oh, I wonder if it's in Chicago, I go, put them on the phone with me, and I will walk them through things, because, so that way, if the burden's not on you, all of these statistics aren't lying about the wages, it's especially prevailing wage, the minimum wage. If you can't pay it, at least know it. And this thing that you got here that's in the back and stuff, I wanted to let you guys know that at the end of the day, I'm gonna, this afternoon, I'm gonna email the chamber. What I did is the top 6, the largest employment availability or employer industries in the county and the surrounding areas. This isn't like US. This is Hood, Parker, Johnson, ERAC, and Palo Pinto, and I think Somerville on here, but you know, so that's what these statistics are. But I also have it broken down by. So this is like your industry, and then I have all of the pay for specific occupation in your industry. I have that available, so I'm going to send it. So if you're, you know, in healthcare and hey, I want to know what I'll send it. You know, I'm going to send it to the chamber. They'll be able to give it to you because I had to go through the circle last night. But the other thing too is LinkedIn and social media. I mean, it's unbelievable the amount of groups that are on there, and I'm not kidding. It's not bitch fest groups. It's group people like you going, what am I, here's who I am. I'm, you know, long-term healthcare or home care outside this. And on LinkedIn, I'll be able to help you find 3 or 4 groups that you join, and it's hundreds of thousands of people across the US, and they have that same problem. You can go, guys, what do you do for this part? And they'll go, hey, try this. I mean, you're not like, she said, you're not wrong.
Yeah. So I remember, this tells me that maybe the next topic we need to talk about is retention.
My favorite.
Because if it's gonna be tough to hire people, this is telling you we're gonna lose the people we already have, if we don't focus on retention. So I would love to have a future session on.
Add it to the calendar.
The human resource is the most valuable part of your business. And yet it's often the most overlooked, because we get so caught up in the bottom line. And then when you factor in, and this is the goal of Katie, she mentioned briefly about generational welfare. Well, it's right here in our community. It's real, it's happening. And by the time they come to Fuller Training Center, society will beat them down in many cases. And yet, there is a resource among those people that go through the program that they will go to work and work hard tomorrow. We'll talk a little bit about that.
Yes, the last class we had, was covered, and so many people were getting checks and we didn't have to work. We had the most amazing group, first time we brought back in, we were allowed to have classes again. And they inspired us to know him, they desired work, they wanted to work, they had dreams and goals, and it was really the best thing we saw needed that. We needed to see that there's still people wanting to work. And so we really had a successful class. No one dropped out of that class. The first class we ever had, no attrition. Everybody stuck in there, stuck together. One of our leading people was a veteran coming back into re-entry into the workforce. We have things, I think that awareness, who are you? Who is your population who's going to be working for you? Who is your workforce? And just like you mentioned, Brian mentioned, was the generational poverty issue. You have people who have never worked a day in their life, lived in Gregory, Texas their entire life. If you do not know that, it'd be good to know that. That doesn't mean they're bad people. It means that they just have been stuck somewhere, and each generation stays stuck because they don't know that it gets different. Well, it's just not like they're not educated enough. They just don't realize they live there. That's all they've seen. So what Ford does is when we have them at least go through the door, and then we're reaching you and say, it doesn't have to be this way. There is a hope. You have value. I know this isn't the culture you come from, but so we have that high generational poverty here. We all have high situational poverty, which is different because that is a place where you've gotten stuck because of the circumstance. And then you are in poverty for a time, and you will work your way out. So you have these people come in. I think the re-entry from prison, from drug addiction and things like that are very prevalent in all societies. And especially our most recent veteran coming in saying, I mean, he was 22 years and was retired out of the Army, and he was as lost as he could be. He didn't know what to do. There was no way to equate that job into a community. So he came in very downtrodden, but after just a while, realizing, oh my gosh, I'm looking at what he really could do. And like I say, prison is another factor when they come in and they've been, even a year or two out of work, not knowing, and then no one wants to hire you. They think, no one will hire me, I can't get a job. And that's what the thing we say. Some people will not hire you, but you can get hired. And if you will implement these principles, you will work hard and you can accomplish what they do. They make the best employees. One time, didn't you mention, I think it was Aaron, did you tell me one time that if you ever hired Ellen, that they're usually the best workers? I think it was you that told me that sometimes you hire someone that's had a felon and they were the best workers you've ever had because they need to prove more, right? And they'll just, it may not have been you, but I thought you told me that. We've been in business a long time ago, it's a long time ago. But what I want to say is that so the workforce is out there, they want work. Please understand that if this is our culture, who you're going to hire, you must look at and be aware of what challenges they may face in transportation, childcare, and no family support. A person trying to get out of generational poverty. We have experts over here like Dusty Stovall, who works with the demographic continually. If someone desires it, they're going to be real fortunate. 3 years, 5 years, it takes them to get out of it, to get the mentality of not being impoverished in your mentality. It's not just economic. So I would say, consider that when you're hiring and see if you can work a little bit with that and how to be understanding and have provisions. And those are discussions to have up front. When you come in from the interview, they're not going to want to tell you they're going to have those struggles because you won't hire them. If you think that they're a single mom and don't have a backup child here, aren't you going to go to the one that doesn't? And then it's a reality, but you need to realize that person's so valuable. How can we help them have that second? How can we have them have a backup plan or address real issues? Something I think would be beneficial, we've seen in the Ford Training Center, is that when you have someone who's just not quite making it, but you do see there's a value there, but you just don't know, they're just really not doing a job like you want. Why don't you send them to Ford Training Center? We have had a successful model of that, where a current company had 2 employees who they wanted to keep, but they just didn't understand the common things that are showing up on time or having, they didn't have the inner qualities of character that they needed to work on. They sent the 2 people to us. One of them, after the first day, he was too good for it. He went, oh, this is nothing. He left, lost his job. The other man didn't. And he has risen to that company to an extreme, almost the highest level we've had, because he said, out of his own humility, which we were saying, I need to work, I want to learn, I desire it. People do. And now he got the tools he needed. And it was just a little tweaking. It was really 2 months of sitting with someone who just kind of build him up, because maybe he's never had anyone think he's working. So I think looking at those things, send people to it. I'd also say to you, would you consider, I've got my cards back there, we would like to know what you need, because there's things in our program that you need to add or, touch on certain subjects that you are struggling with in your place. What is it? Is it conflict on the job, conflict resolution? Is it tardiness? What is your issues? Help us know what we can work to train people better. Another thing is, if you really want to know, come and visit, and we'll give you an appointment. We can get up and let you come through and sit through and watch the class, see a little bit of it. I think it can give you a view into what's going on, so that you can understand, and then you can be ready to hire them. Come and volunteer, work with them, people that will be your workforce, and then you don't even have to be told, you just know. So I don't know if that answers that, but those are some takeaways I would say.
You triggered me real bad, I'm sorry, I know that I speak too much, but you said 3 things, 4 or 5 things that are really good, but, so she said, second chance offenders, prison, she said, have you guys ever heard of the work opportunity tax credit? You guys are owners and decision makers, you need to know what the work opportunity tax credit is. You get up to $9,600 of tax rebate per person that you hire that comes from second chance of a prison. We're talking, now again, these are non-violent offenders,
No.
they're not, in my city, these are like, both, and again, they end up being the best employees. But if you have, the other thing, disability, any disability, and you got 30 days, to literally, you just go in and enter their name, their information on a TWC link, you call me out, I'll send it to you, so you have it on your, I think I emailed it. I think some of you that I've talked, I think I've emailed it to you, so you have it, but it's just called the work opportunity tax credit, and you just have to have it for it needs to be from your onboarding. Because first off, you also don't know, a lot of people don't have to disclose if they have a disability. But they might be having, it'll be on there, if you something into that. That's how you talk to your owners and say, okay, because then they'll go, I'm the one who found out about this work opportunity tax credit. Now you gotta give me a little bit of what I want and all that stuff, but there's nothing that looks better than that. But you get up to $96 per person, and if you hire a veteran, oh, good night. First off, they unanimously make the best employee. I mean, just, they're already built in. 4 o'clock in the morning, it doesn't matter. They're already built in. They're already regimented. The other thing too is if you have a company and you're kind of afraid of taking on somebody with a second chance, we have fidelity bonding. We'll make sure that if you talk, so that your insurance doesn't have to come into play. We'll cover them for, to make sure that if there's a little risk there, you're like, oh, don't worry, I really want to give you a chance, but there's still a risk. We'll take care of that fidelity bonding, and we'll take your insurance company's pressure off. And again, you have that.
So yeah, I want to ask you that because that's the fear state. I mean, obviously we cannot, when there's regulations, we can't hire certain offenders. certain things, okay? But even the petty theft, the marijuana charge from 1992, those things are still, being told we can't hire. But that was when they were 18 or 19 or whatever. But there's, I think owners are so worried about, okay, well, what if we do put them here and they say the homeowner says there's a theft or something like that, they're gonna pull up the background check and they're gonna see that they have that on there. I mean, are we really liable for that?
Not with fidelity bonding, no. So fidelity bonding is gonna make sure that if they did do anything that was, like that, or they probably, I don't know how to say this in the way that, would sound, more generous or that, but, if they did repeat offenses at that point, or did steal something or anything, probably, it's not going to be going back to a liability for your company. It's funded by that, because you took them on.
Does that cost money?
No, everything I do is free, so no. Yeah, so that's just the state. The state of Texas has so many of these things, but make sure you get that work opportunity tax credit. You gotta have that as safe. It's a link. You save it onto your favorites. I'll send it to everybody. I'll send it to the chamber and they will ship it out there. It's literally a link. It takes maybe 2 minutes. And the companies that I've gotten into, it is now part of their hiring process. Also, I heard HR earlier, change the name HR. Has anybody here ever gotten a call from HR that they didn't freak out about? I received a call from, it says HR, and I'm like,
It's
well,
employee services.
yeah.
Okay, or something like
Yeah,
that.
people
We want to
have
help the
good.
employees, we cannot.
What do y'all see as far as workforce or employers starting to go to looking at high school graduate seniors? Half of our kids in Granbury are not going to go to college because they like it, they're all going to go there. 2 of my last hires have been 19 and 20 years old. And they quickly jump to be superstars in our company.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, I would put them up there with the super 12-year veterans. So I think there's a source there because a lot of those are coming out that generation. Robert, we talked about it well too. They're very smart kids and they're motivated as well too. So is there any effort?
Absolutely.
TEA actually now requires most high schools to have a certain number of certification programs that they teach. And I don't know what they all are, but I only know this because my daughter is an administrator at the high school. And they they provide a lot of the training, so when they walk out of high school, some of them are already certified welders. They're already certified, childcare. You know, I mean, they've got at least some basic certifications. If they've already done that, come on, we're not offering out for college.
CTE
I mean,
programs that they call it in high school, and they like to meet with the superintendent, because that's the biggest thing in the world is, how do I do my local village? And I'm like, you pick up the phone, and you say, I got a graduating class of 650 kids or whatever, you know, I got a graduating class of 450 kids, and I would like to host an event at our, you know, in the school's got an auditorium, host an event of career exploration, and you go to it and you say, here's what's in town, because a lot of times you drive past and, you know, Balco and all these other things, and you're like, kids don't know what that, what is that, what is that? They don't know that may be a very cool job that they would like. But we have a great work ethic here in Granbury and in the area. That's the cool part about some of this.
I wanted to address something that you were mentioning now, but, Forward Training Center, we're also, I think, another best kept secret. But we're actually a Cisco Net Academy. So we teach, we've got our first student coming up in the fall, but we're prepared for those extra educations in technology. We're teaching that. We also have referrals for the HVAC training and for the medical coding, and then I was trying to think of the other one, let's see, one more, Lori, I was trying to think of the other one, but anyway, we have some further education opportunities. So we want, well, construction trade schools, we have 2 different places we can send people real close. And I do know that the workforce commission has many other programs, and I don't know, are those just economically driven people to come to those trainings, or is that for they have to be low income?
It could be any, I mean, we have something for, so we're self-sufficiency fund, we have an employee. Oh man, I love the work rate, but my husband's, you know, he's making more, so I'm gonna stay with the kid, because we can't afford the childcare, but you know, okay, let us know if they're about to go on a subsidized program. Literally just call your workforce solutions office and say, I got something about there's a self-sufficiency fund that takes, it's a page about this thing, you fill it out and it makes sure that they have childcare or the part is fixed so they can get to work and stay off of those programs. But also not just low income. Once you guys hire somebody, if you talk to these kids and you say, okay, I talk to all these employers, and the one thing they say is, oh, I want somebody that this is this. And then I say, well, what about your own proof? Oh, we have our own system. Well, it doesn't matter if they come, because I can come in with all the accounting software I want, but if I've never seen your accounting software, you gotta train me like I've never seen it anyway. So why not look at attitude and aptitudes instead of what they already have out there? So those kids come in, like you said at first, you know, no, I'll pay, if you say we have a proprietary service or anything like that, Weatherford College will open up a class based on your training, we'll pay for it with the skill development grants. And it's the best part is that everybody either less than 100 employees, you got skills development, which is skills for small business, which is less than 100. It's a front and back page, it's easier to get, and it's whatever the college offers, but the best part is the college is looking to offer more. So if you say, hey, we have an industry certification that we need to have for, you know, level welding to maintenance tech and like that, they'll add it, we'll pay for it. Your employees are twice as loyal to you, because not only did you give them a chance, but you gave them the chance to learn. And don't freak out about them getting the ability to lead you. The 85% retention rate for all of the companies that are in that top 10 retention, 85% of them all pay for training. They pay them to be able to lead, and then they treat them well enough to don't. This is weird, you know, math that goes with that.
So with us, we generally are hiring at an entry level because we are an industry that
What's your
is more
industry?
specialized. We're bond arms.
Okay.
Gun
Yeah,
manufacturing.
yeah, of course.
And even our software and everything, like you said, we're gonna have to train you, but most people don't use that software. So we have no problem hiring like that, even whenever we put out, what is it, job applications and everything, we have the same issue because we have regulations. We could get 25 applicants, maybe only hire one.
Yeah,
But even-
talk to your folks, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, which I'm gonna talk to you about that a little bit.
Okay, good.
But, so we do all that, but even, we've had lately a lot of people leave us, but they all say, hey, we love your company, you guys are great, but now we're moving to this area, or we're doing this or that. So I mean, we're struggling and we're an environment that people say that they like. We're trying to stay competitive with wages and everything like that, but we really are struggling on getting people in there. Even with all the things that you guys are talking about, so.
Like these employees, are these good employees, do you like these employees? Sometimes they're friends, and the best ones, you haven't, when they're leaving, you haven't made to refer. Like people tend to hang out with like people. You know, I'm not gonna, I mean, you know, usually you don't have somebody that's well motivated, well driven, hanging out with somebody that's just a way around. I mean, think about it. I mean, you know, I know there's all kinds of friends that you have, but you know, talk to your people when they're leaving because of something else. You know, your own employees are some of your best references for new employees.
Well, like,
The best feedback comes from anybody, like, so when they do turn in 2 weeks, don't do the thing where they go, oh, and they just, everybody kind of ignore that guy, and just, you don't care, you're leaving in 2 weeks.
And at 4
No,
o'clock,
bring it
at 4 o'clock on
everywhere.
their last day, giving out your keys, fill out this paperwork,
Thank you for your
you know,
service.
talk to them.
Shoot straight, have a good day, all that stuff, but make sure that you talk to them the whole time. Okay, tell me a little bit though, give me honesty, what can we do better? Even if that voice is like, oh, over again. Great, what did you love and what could we do better? But the other thing too is, unless we bring in everybody's parents, I cannot help. There is nothing that any program or anything that we have that can help with the, you know, wanting to work or the ability to, I mean, I have employees who call me and say, do you have anybody with a pulse? I will hire you. I'm not kidding. I mean, they literally have a pulse hire. So the struggle is real. But again, I when it comes to the ethic and all those things like that, but you guys, I've talked to some of you folks and you guys are doing pretty well. You know, you do have some kind of regulations, but you're doing pretty well in terms of, you know, your culture. But you know, that struggle is definitely real for them to look at.
and even, like I said, we just had 3 people in our customer service leave all in a 2-week period, and not because of us, but because they were moving. And so it's like, how do you keep them in Granbury right now? What are the incentives of keeping the workforce in Granbury instead of going there? Because that's a big issue that we have right now.
And just they left because they're leaving Granbury because it was too, because of the, cost of living. Because what we see at Mission Granbury, I know a lot of people are doing lots of work, but there's no place to live here.
Yes.
And be able to survive, and it's because they come from,
Or transportation.
transportation, it's usually, you know, we have some reason we try to talk about that. It's very hard to try to keep workers, because people do want to work, but they can go somewhere else and make a little bit more, but their housing is there. They've lost their housing, some of them have moved together over, you know, a couple of generations of living together, and they're just tired of that. But we have people that work for us who live in one town. And it's because that's the only place to live. So I'm just wondering if they move because economically it is better for them, you know, to move because they can afford to move there, or if you know that one.
Well, I know the last couple of them moved because it was women, and they moved because their husbands got a better job out of the area.
Can they do customer service virtually?
Not really. I mean, we do have the setup where they can do remotely, and I'm working on setting it up again because we're changing some things on it. But some of it, like the RMA side, since we don't do direct sales anymore, a lot of it is troubleshooting and stuff like that.
But can you do that? I mean, the teams, you get everything. Think heavily about that, because that is one thing I want to bring up to you, and say, hey, customer service is absolutely, because that is really hard to get someone who knows your product already really well and already knows it. I mean, I cannot think of a reason why that cannot be done virtually, and you can meet with them on Teams all day long. You can have them on Teams all day, just say, hey, I want to look at you, make sure you whatever you need to, but I think customer service is one thing I can't imagine. And if you guys are meeting, open up the laptop and have Teams, and they're right there, it's the same thing.
We probably finance therapist husband, has moved, and she's awesome. I couldn't imagine replacing her. So she's working remotely, which I will do the first few weeks were a little awkward, but I totally agree. Sometimes we have change our mindset a little bit.
So many of us went virtually most of last year. Truthfully, I don't know what kind of home, I don't know, because I didn't have to deal with
Anybody?
walking by, hey.
You don't have to get started.
So we're, scheduled right now, we're, probably gonna start wrapping things up, because I know we probably talked for another hour or two. So I'm gonna ask the panelists is to give, a couple of additional takeaways from their thoughts of what they've heard. And then if you wanna stay afterwards and visit with them and ask them some more questions, we'll do that. But, we'll start with, Pam and work our way across the table.
Well, I've been pretty quiet this whole time, so. I'm gonna, and she had mentioned that we're not gonna beat that into their heads. So I'm gonna beat this into your head again, is, okay, communication, you have to communicate. Communication is transparency, it is all of that, so massive communication of literally, guys, gals, what do we, here's our goal today, here's how the company's doing, how are you doing? Those are just simple things that don't cost a dime. They do not cost you a raise, it costs you a raise, you need to do that. But that transparency and that communication, I'll just tell you all that, but make sure that you're doing it consistently, like every 6 months. There's this virtual inbox that anybody can see, it's 24/7, it's free, you can set up questions, polls, anything like that, but get that feedback, because it's the one thing that drives me nuts. People have, I'm the owner, I'm the manager, or I have managers, I have a manager's meeting every day. They tell me everything. Do they? Who? The managers are with you in the same office, while you have guys that are in, climbing roofs, and out there in home healthcare. I've been a manager a long time, and I never, ever, and I just back to when I was with visual computer, and I'm going, I don't know that telephone game really is, and by the way, you should give your manager feedback anytime you can. In today's world, everybody gets a ribbon. If you don't get a ribbon for participating, you're upset. And so people do not take one-on-one feedback like they should. They get, great, give me a constructive criticism. And then you spend 2 weeks going, I take things very well, and it's not right. So get your communication, not from just your top people. Get it from the people that are on board. Get it from the people that are making your business run. And then, because there's no way you can judge a leader without talking with people at all. And so if you don't do that, make sure you do that. So my thing is just communication, transparency, and know your culture inside out.
There's a couple of things, I would say to you, the business owners, I know if you are a business owner, or if your business owner is not present, be present. If you know the business owner well, go have coffee. They need to know the dire need of what is happening in their culture and in their business. Because they may be so far disengaged because for a long time, everything's been running fine, right? Everything was good, you had momentum, business is growing. However, now you're drowning. And so you are a business owner. It's very, very mature engaged in the business right now. More so now than ever, because you're gonna lose people. And then you'll be so far down the road that you're gonna see the business and there's nothing as soon as you like. I've seen already businesses are closing their doors because their owners were not present. They didn't know the reality of the dire need of them being present. So I want to speak to that a little bit. And the other lady, she's talking about retention. This is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
What we are talking about is actually retention. If the culture is stinky in your place, that's your retention. They're leaving. Why? Well, I'm telling you, if you don't slow the business down, and I know the hospitals, they're crazy. You do what you can, what you have time. And I get it, like right now, it's nutty. But for the guys like us, who don't have, maybe in the restaurant industry, maybe whatever industry you are, that you're drowning. There's nothing that you can do or pay. You said there's $1,500 and they're turning it down. Well, that's telling you, guys, that money's not the issue. So hear me out. You've got to slow the business down. Slow it down some way, because you're gonna be the only one left running the business, and then you're done. I'm telling you. So somehow you've got to slow the business down. Otherwise, there's no money that's gonna keep them there. They're done, right? They're drowning. So you've got to figure out a way to slow it down somehow. Okay, so figure that out, whether you're taking less homes, I don't know what it looks like in your industry, but you've got to slow it down. Otherwise, there is no money. That's gonna keep people there. They're drowning, unhappy. You know what? I'll just stay home. I'll be a stay-at-home mom. It's better that way, right? And two, figure out a way that you can bless, talk to your peers. I would say we are closed on Sunday, so we did get that on any day. It's a lot of fun last week. We rented out a big ranch. We all went out there. But I want to speak directly with spouses. So I pull them all aside. They were going in, they were in the line. I want to speak how much I really appreciate them. Because our industry, it's rough. It is stretched thin. And I want to speak directly to them and just say thank you. And then I also want to do something to prove it. And so I sent them all in these. We'll figure out the scheduling. I know it's crazy, it's hectic, but we've got to find at least a day, right? How we can bless them. And so I sent them their spouses to call me, their little box, say that's figure it out. Figure it out. Show that you care. Be involved. Be present. And slow the business down. Because right now, that's the main thing is you gotta retain these people. Otherwise, you're working on yourself. And that's going to work out. You shut those down. Okay.
And I would say then, we need to build the workforce. And so use the people who are here who do not know they have the talents and skills. So let's get involved and send people our way, offer them an opportunity to get what they need so that when they do come through your doors, they're ready. At least they're willing and ready. And I'll guarantee you, if they get an applicant that has gone through the job supply or forward training center, universal classes, I want to tell you, they're doing one extra mile, guys. Hire them, give them a shot. But I would say, so there are people who want to work in our community. Some of them do not know the hidden rules of what to do to get through those doors, but give them a chance if you can. And especially if they've had some training, or refer them back, say, go get some training, then come back. Try that. I would say, be aware of the circumstances of the persons that you're hiring, which is the real challenges of childcare, transportation, and lack of suitable housing. Things like that are real issues for them. Are they going to be evicted soon? Do they live in a place where they don't have a heating, cooling? These are things. Humans matter. You have to work for it, and the people matter. And so just think about a broader picture of a forum for them to have a safe place to discuss those things without expecting anything in return, except just sort of an understanding of how we all work together on this challenge. And remember that there's referring agencies all over the community. Be aware, Forward Training Center can refer out, Michigan Granbury, they know everything. We all as a collective group know where to go if people have needs. So don't just shut it down and say, let us refer you out. Once you do this job, do it, help you with that. Build a bridge toward other, with Forward Training Center, I would say, maximize what we have here by believing in our people and knowing that we can rise above everything. Forward Training Center has a faith-based component. People who work there are faith-based. We believe that God is very present, and that if someone embraces that, that's great. If they don't, they can still learn a lot of great skills and get good jobs. However, we see a great deal of people wanting to have hope for the entire rest of their lives. And so it's a very meaningful place for them to feel that opportunity should they choose to have a direction. Hire your retirees. As we were talking about these surveys, that really some of the people that are retiring early are leaving. Let's get them retrained. We do retrain. We have a lot of people that their retirement's not lasting. They come back in. We have some 78 to 84-year-olds, actually very high performers, learning computer skills again, going back. And my, the feedback is on them that they do the best jobs ever. And also consider that your younger groups that do not maybe understand computer. They may be very good about finding things, but they may not know how to do Microsoft, the things we use in our office, QuickBooks. They may not know how to use those tools. Send them to us for free. They can be employed free now. Just say we have not classes. No. But I'll take advantage of those opportunities.
One of the questions is that right at the very end is about retention, ways you can retain, getting managers involved with coaching employees, set up a succession plan, let them know you have a succession plan. Some of those things can, particularly if they can look around and say, okay, this person, I hear they're talking about maybe moving, so that means promote from within. Everything that you can do to keep those people with you. Another one is, it takes a lot to hire an employee. Sometimes it takes, resources just to bring them in. It also, how long does it take for them to learn your systems, your way, your culture? A year to two, usually, to get it down where they really understand it. Try to keep those employees whatever you can do, because that's, you've got a learning curve for everything. The other thing I would say, and I know Adam says too, is transparency. Open communications with everyone, including your managers, including those lower level managers from the top, because sometimes the top forgets to talk to those. Work with what's in your community. Okay, also schools, Weatherford, Ranger, even Cisco, TCC, and any of those schools, reach out to them about hiring. I know we have a whole career services division that does nothing to try to help students find jobs when they graduate. Get on board with them. They have training, they have, job fairs all the time, and they have to come in and just, here's what we do, here's who you are, that kind of thing, call Atlanta, Hefner at Charleston, and things like that, particularly if they're considered jobs, because that's what these students need anyway. High school's the same way, not every day is set out for college, the technical stuff is there, talk to them, talk to your principals, talk to your counselors at the high school, finding, for those that are finding employees, and they may turn out to be some of the best employees. Don't wait. I'm telling you in the last year and a half. We've been that long, but I'm not long for all the COVID funding and how people get funding and they thought and everything's great. COVID funding's gone. There's nothing left. And now people are going now. And some of them are waiting until it's too late. Nobody knows that. Okay, you can call us and ask us for help. Always help you with some of your financial information. Analyzing, looking at it, whatever it might take. There are, any SBA loan is going to be small, is going to be less expensive, less interest than conventional loans. So we have those opportunities too. And I'm not just trying to sell our services. Look at all your options before you make those decisions. In terms of burnout, wow, make it a priority. And I know that's tough for a lot of people, but even if it's just 4 or 5 people getting together to discuss it. What do we do with burnout? I mentioned my daughter earlier, she works at a high tech action, she's in the admin at a school district out of Houston. She's a social studies coordinator. Okay, well, all of a sudden she's got these other 4 jobs. One of them includes she's over a nurse that she went through COVID, being a nurse, you know how all that went. She also knows the union counselors. And she's over 504, she's over testimony. Something was said about, well, maybe we don't need to have all these different counseling type sessions, and she said that is the most important thing we can do. For our teachers who don't know how to do this virtually, for us as the counselors or being open counselors and individual counselors, how do they survive this? You know, you've got to get that interaction with one another. You know, set up a link and say, hey, we're gonna Zoom. We're gonna do whatever. If you can join us, join us. Maybe it's nap time for the patient they're sitting with. Maybe it's at 10 o'clock at night and you're already in bed. You know, you can do some of those types of options. Honesty, communications, try to retain as much as you can, do what you can for your employees. That's really all you can do, because this isn't going away. Like I said, it's not gonna go away. This is not just gonna go. It's here for a while.
The word that my takeaway is, feel like you can walk in your team's shoes. Like there's a program that is available through the nonprofits in January called Poverty Simulation, where volunteers live for 4 weeks in the span of an hour, dealing with poverty. And what we don't know what happens behind the scenes. And I will challenge this group online, here in this room, to volunteer when we put that together. Because it will open your eyes to what's happening right in our own backyard. I hope you have found this conversation useful. It is a conversation. We're not going to solve all of the world's issues here. We'll probably have a follow-up conversation because this is critical to our community's success. You're critical to achieving success. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you to our panelists. Give them a round of applause. Questions before this, have a great day.